Hello, and welcome to the channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you are not. My name is Kayla, and I'm the owner and lead wedding planner here at Transformed Events, where we help DIY couples to ball out on a budget. So this video is obviously going to relate to wedding planning in some capacity because this is a wedding planning channel after all, but I think that this is a really important topic, and the reason that I want to talk about it is because it really relates to just life as a whole and being able to have such a high level of focus and self-discipline in accomplishing things you set out to do. And that is the real key to, in my opinion, having a successful wedding planning journey, and even more importantly, to having a lot less stress and just more peace during this process. And here, we don't just care about your wedding, okay? We care about your life. So without further ado, today we are going to be chatting about the power of pre-deciding and how this can help you in your life and in your wedding planning journey. So first, let's start off with a little story time, because I think this backstory is just really helpful and important in making the whole concept kind of come together. So if you don't know, I am learning Spanish, and lately I have been trying to find ways to really integrate Spanish into my life versus just showing up to a 1 hour long class and then not having any Spanish interactions until the next class. So my husband works every other weekend. He works Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every other weekend. So I have the whole day to myself on Sundays usually. So I started going to this Spanish church after I go to my church in English. Well, this particular Sunday, I hadn't had an event the day before, which I usually do, but for some reason I was just extra tired, okay? My legs were just sore, and I just wasn't feeling it, and I really just didn't feel like sitting through two church services. And I was also driving my own car when I usually drive my husband's car, because his car just wasn't charged enough for me to get to both of the places I needed to get to, and I really don't like driving my car far distances because it's kind of hanging on by a thread. And so I have to go to the Spanish church right after the English church because of the start time, so there's literally only enough time to travel in between. And I'm usually hungry, and sometimes I have to pack my lunch, or I'll stop and get something. But basically, my brain was just making up all these excuses on why I should not go to the Spanish church and why I should just go back home, blah, blah, yada, 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 yada. Right? Okay, so I was like, no, Caleb, no. Get a grip, because you want to learn Spanish, and you cannot keep bailing yourself out of doing the things that you want to do. You can't keep flaking on your commitments, no matter how small, right? Because these little small steps and acts of submission are what helps you to reach the long-term goal. So pack the freaking lunch, get in the car, and go. So that is what I did. But the whole time I'm on the way there, the whole time I'm sitting in the English church, I'm just debating, should I go? Should I not go? Blah, blah, blah. Well, church is over. I'm sitting in the parking lot for like 10 minutes. I'm taking a few bites of my lunch, and I put on Apple Music Shuffle to start driving. And what's the first thing that comes on? A song in Spanish. So I was like, okay, I'm going. So I drive 30 minutes out of the way to the Spanish church. I pull up, and what do you know? Not a car is in sight, and the gate to the parking lot is locked. And I just couldn't help but start cracking up laughing, because, of course, when I was going through this whole debate for all these hours, they did not even have service today. So I know that that probably was not the ending that you thought, and didn't turn out how you thought. But let me tell you why it was still impactful to me and why I was so proud of myself still. And it was because I overcame an obstacle, right? The obstacle of my mind. Even though I did not feel like going and I had all these excuses to justify not going, I pre-decided that's what I was going to do, and I stuck to my word. And to me, it's so incredible what we are capable of doing once we set our minds towards something and don't allow anything to change it. So I know you're probably thinking, how the heck can this help me with planning my wedding? And this is how. You have the power to decide something, and you force yourself to follow through on that decision, no matter what. Now, let me clarify that I'm not talking about if you brought a dress and you really hate it, right? Or you had this one photographer in mind to capture your day, and they're not available, so now you have to change around your entire wedding idea to accommodate them, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about not being so wishy-washy and allowing your wedding planning journey to be dictated by trends, to be dictated by from friends and family members, by your ever-changing emotions, right? Or even by your vendors in some cases. I'm talking about deciding ahead of time what you want this process to look like, what you want the day to look like, what your priorities are going to be, and sticking to that. Because the most common trouble I see couples getting into is having what I like to call a mid-planning crisis. Similar to a midlife crisis, where you feel lost, you just don't know what's happening in life, and couples start planning their wedding, everything's going great, they start making subtle changes though, spending more money than they maybe planned, those changes affect other things, and it's this vicious cycle, okay? This cycle is something that is really hard to get out of, and it starts sucking all the fun out of the journey. And then you look up and suddenly you're planning a completely different wedding than the one you originally started out planning. I legit hear people say all the time, we were only going to have 50 people, now all of a sudden we're having like 200 people, or first we just wanted something small and laid back, and now I don't know how it turned into this whole big thing. No, I don't want that for you, because this is something that you have control over. You have to pre-decide. This will help you so much, because decision fatigue is real, and it will paralyze you to the point where you can't even make the smallest, simplest decision, because even that seems too overwhelming. I once had a couple literally not tell me their first dance song choice until the morning of the wedding. They were that paralyzed. So I always advocate to getting as many decisions out of the way as early as possible, because there will come a point when you are just fed up and you don't want to get trapped by the plague of indecisiveness, or even worse, the cycle of changing your mind or having to remake decisions that you already made. You can do this. You have the power to get your mind in line with the decisions that you already made, but it will take an intense amount of self-discipline, and you literally have to say to yourself, mine, cut it out. We're not doing this today. We're moving on, because the fact of the matter is that you have that power inside of you, so you just have to tap into it. So y'all know that I love practical steps you can take to apply the information. So of course, I'm going to put you on some game. But first, I'm going to need you to go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Give this video a thumbs up if this information has been helpful to you so far. And let me know down in the comments what your biggest takeaway has been so far. So let's get back to the regularly scheduled programming. So here are 3 practical ways you can implement the practice of pre-deciding. First, stop looking at Pinterest after your aesthetic vision is finalized. Second, stop inviting so many outside opinions into your decision-making process. And third, get more organized and implement better systems to help you stay on track and keep track of what's already been done. Let's go ahead and get into some more of these with some more detail. So first, stop looking at Pinterest after your aesthetic vision is finalized. Now, I'm calling out Pinterest specifically because it's a really popular one, but this really goes for whatever you use to get inspiration, like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever your thing is, okay? Decide and then delete the app or unfollow certain accounts or whatever it is that tempts you. You know what those things are, and you know that you need to get rid of them. This is a trap that far too many couples find themselves stuck in, because every single week you're scrolling through, you see something new and shiny, you have to have it, or a trend that you just have to do, etc., etc. And the more that you see and are exposed to, the more that you're going to want to change your mind or alter your plans, and the more frustrated you will get, because the more complicated that you'll be making things for yourself. And the easier it will be to start getting overwhelmed. So just decide on stuff and then dead it, okay? Second, stop inviting so many outside opinions into your decision-making process. Let me start by saying that I know that we all have those family members who don't need an invitation to give their opinions, and they just love to give unsolicited advice, okay? I'm not talking about those people right now. I'm talking about you being super excited about all the wedding stuff, and you just want to tell everyone everything, which makes room in the conversation for them to give their feedback. Now, I'm not saying being excited is a bad thing by any means, and you absolutely need people who you can be a sounding board for, right, in this journey, and talk through things with, etc. But that group should be a condensed group of people, not everyone's mom and their first cousins or your fiance's mother's brother's best friend, right? Do you know what I'm saying? A lot of times there's wisdom in small community, whereas if I'm always talking to everyone about everything, a lot of times you'll start getting people saying things like, well, why are you doing that? You should do this instead. That's not going to work, right? The naysayers. And it can not only get discouraging, but it can make you start moving away from your original plan, and maybe even influencing your thoughts away from something that you were once genuinely interested and excited about or wanted to do or have, right? Third, get more organized and implement better systems to help you stay on track and keep track of what's already been done. This is one of the biggest reasons why pre-deciding is helpful, right? A lot of times changing your mind on things is accidental because you just truly don't even remember what you have, or you don't even remember a decision that you already made, right? So you need somewhere to memorialize that information so that you can recall when you bought something, how much you paid for it, when you already decided on something, right? So that it's not an accident and you don't fall into this, trap accidentally. That is bad, because nothing that you should do while you're planning your wedding should be accidental. Nothing that you should do in general should be accidental when it comes to your time or your money, okay? I personally like using spreadsheets to keep track of important things, but you can use whatever works for you. The main objective here is that it needs to be something that you can be consistent at, because if you can't be consistent at it and you just start it and then you stop it and then you start it again, right, you're going to be caught with the trap, right? It needs to be something that you're already familiar with so that you can be consistent at. So the more organized you are, the less that you'll forget details and the easier it will be to follow the plan you previously laid out instead of branching off into new plans. So I really, really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. As you can tell, I'm really passionate about this. I am, because it's just like I want the best for you in this wedding planning journey, but this is just also a concept that has helped me in life outside of wedding planning, right? And just like my self discipline, my habits, all that kind of good stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and share it with a friend. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!